good morning, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. The topic I'm going to start with today is hacking people growth. And I plan to share, some of the stories I've learned as I've built HackerRank from ground up. A little bit about me. I'm Hari. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO at HackerRank. And we started this way back around in 2009, 2010 types, and have been building this developer skills platform where developers across the globe can come in, upskill themselves, showcase their talent to the companies which are hiring, and get the jobs they deserve. So before HackerRank, my manager experience before HackerRank was I was just part of a few technical clubs when I was back in the university days, where management purely meant event organization. That's what gave us the kind of skills needed to conduct something big. And then from there were a bunch of college juniors where I mentored every now and then. And post university, I joined IBM as a software developer one. And that obviously I got to learn from my manager, but really didn't have any chance to, be a manager or manage people. Next, during the early days of HackerRank, right? Like when I started building the team, most of my first hires didn't even need a manager. Like there was always this flight or fight mode, or keep shipping, and building this 0 to 1 product gives in this crazy amount of energy that we didn't need a lot of people management practices at that point in time. It's almost like ship something and see how it works, ship the next thing, and this kept on going as a continuous cycle. That the early days of HackerRank really was just pure mad race. And I personally love servers and code and product more than managing people. Like this was me during my early days of the career. Somehow I love the fact that how predictable code is. You could debug it easily, but it's hard to debug people. Same people would behave different ways in different days, and that's not the same with code. So somehow, during the early days, as we hired our people ops leader, I specifically try to avoid this, and usually, unless there is no one else, is only when I used to jump into people related and growth related activities and so on. And today at HackerRank, I'm the CTO and co-founder still. Myself and my co-founder, we have built a team of around 350 odd folks. The engineering team size is alone close to about 150. The hierarchy is not too bad though. Like between the CEO and SD1, there are just 4 levels of hierarchy. And what I wanted to talk is, how did I go about, from I don't ever want to manage people to sort of totally enjoying it, and what makes such a rewarding task now, and what are some of the things I have loved doing and which worked in HackerRank. I'm going to share the stories here. It's pretty much a storytelling session. I have 2 major stories to talk about. And the theme of the story is keep learning and have fun. I'll come back to the slide at the end. This is just a placeholder or a hook to let you all folks know that this is what has been one of the guiding principles for me to go ahead and, build a team from ground up. And I'm pretty sure most of you would have heard about this term growth hacking. It's such a standard term in product growth. Companies like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, they have their growth hacking teams, or the growth team specifically. And it's almost like a science. There is a set of coding and automation piece of it. There is people's behavior, and you do a ton of A/B testing and have a lot of data around it, and a whole set of creative part. And all of this comes in, and there is the product's growth hacking. And not just it is quantified science. There are books written about this, like gamification by design, and how do you build products. Like Hooked is another example where how do you build products which people use again and again and again. So you can do growth hack for products. The question was, what about people's growth? Like, can we hack that too? Can we make people's growth interesting, exciting, and fun as well, right? As I look back, these are true experiences, and this is from a founder who started something with literally no leadership experience. Are there better ways to do it? Maybe, but let's see how I did this. So the experiment one, which I'm going to call it as an intern bet. So we have a pretty good internship program. We have for software developers. So we run this twice a year, and we get close to about 50,000 applicants and end up hiring, close to 10 to 20 folks from this whole group. The interns work with the engineering teams and build some of the core infrastructure for HackerRank. And this is pretty, this group was pretty important for us because they were working on some of the core products. Like, we really wanted to appreciate what they were doing for us, celebrate their successes. So what we decided to do was like have a web page hosted in HackerRank.com for every intern who have ever worked here. Like, so every intern batch, to be specific. So the entire batch would get their own page, which we would never get to change. They get to decide what goes on in their page, and it's almost like personal profile. And how did we execute this? We asked the interns to create the page and ship it up like every other task. So a quick preview of some of the pages we have. Like, this is from 2016, 2017, I think, and as you can see back, like the next batch copied the same exact design from the previous batch, and we told them this is not done. You need to come up with creative ideas. And we then have different designs for every intern batch. And then we have multiple new designs, which has come up over the year. So it looks like a pretty straightforward, simple success story. Or like, we asked the interns to do something. They've launched it. It's done, right? Not really. Interns, while they loved the idea, but they never had the bandwidth to do this. They were shipping some of our core critical stuffs. They really had product deliverables, like as much like as a senior software developer in the team, and they were pretty excited to do it at that level. So they didn't want to call it waste their time in building this page, but they loved the idea for sure. So what's a hack to make it do it? How do you make it as a bet? Like, so this was the destination for victory. There is this nice, good place in Bangalore where we had our office called Nandi Hills. It's about maybe a couple of hours drive from where our office is, and a pretty good place if you're visiting it for the first time, but after multiple years, you get bored out of it. So I made a bet with the interns, and this is how it went. So if the interns win, one of the weekends, and this is during the internship when they were in Bangalore, I will take the interns to Nandi Hills and act as their tour guide. They all know how much I hate traveling over the weekend. I, love staying where I was. And of course, babysitting these 7 interns, and you'd never know what they are going to do. Like, interns are a different generation altogether. And I was very worried that, they would suddenly jump out of some place shouting YOLO and whatnot. So I was paranoid about this, and they love the fact that I don't like this. So that, excited them to go for this. But what if I win? And it's almost the equivalent bet. So one of the weekends during the internship, the interns will plan for themselves and visit the same place. And this is tricky for them because they have to be on their own. They have to act as responsible adults and be on their best behavior, let's say. So it's not something they wanted to do. So they obviously, wanted to win as well. And why I was hoping I'll win the bet is this concept of software estimation. Software estimation is hard, and even after reading so many books, I still get it wrong. And the book itself says it's a black art. So I was hoping that they would predict that whatever time they would finish it in, it will take much longer, and that turned out to be the truth. So eventually, as you can see in the picture, I'm not there, and that's victory for me. The group of 7 folks had to rent a car. They went to the hills. They had a good day. In fact, it's so odd. The entire group printed this exact same picture and posted it on their tables. It suddenly became, it's not a losing thing, it's a matter of pride. And surprisingly, how this became the bonding activity to get this group together. And then, they shared a bunch of more pics from the hill and together. So this is how it all started, where, to make them do something, you really had to put in some sort of hook, or make sure that they get some leverage, which is not your regular, salary, or which is not some of the things which is not a tangible one, but which is a lot more fun and a lot more exciting for them. So that's 1 year. I've been doing that for years, and every year the interns invariably lose the bet. And like the same hills, I've chosen multiple places where usually they have to go and do something. Until this happened. One of the years, this is in 2021, one batch won. And the bet I had for them was that I'm going to ship a cake of their choice to every one of them. And this batch is about 30 folks. And as you can see, the last line says, hey, do you want to create a Google form and share our cake flavors? This was after about 6 to 7 years, where first time the intern batch won. And it became a big deal within the company. What started as a fun prank thing took a life of its own. And people started posting huge messages on the company channel, on almost like one of the Oscar award ceremony speech, where they were super happy about what they have achieved. And trust me, they did have a whole lot of other stuff going on in terms of the deliverables they had to do. And eventually, to make a poke at, take a poke at me, they even created a fun video where they had collected all sort of stuff from what I had posted previous year, and how I had made fun of the other interns across over multiple years, and created this fun video. So here it is. I think this is the sad emoji I posted when I assumed they are going to lose, and this is one of the sports person cricketer from India, and there is people asking for extra time, and of course multiple years I was congratulating people for losing the bet, or calling them so losers and whatnot. Like there's always fun in pulling the leg. Some people wanted to push it with the US time zone and wanted to get some 12 hours extra. Some people having that for cat face and whatnot. And this is where it's like, okay, here are all the leg pulling you've done so far. Let's go through the journey this year and what happened. So once they make the bet, and this is a whole bunch of the videos all about their experience in building this. And fun part was that any code in HackerRank needs to be reviewed. And I made sure I picked the toughest reviewer and asked her to review the code. And they did had to get people to approve in the last minute. They were literally calling folks to help them out. Somehow the entire company was also along their side to help them out. Like our QA team, where usually they would not deploy outside the regular time, deployed it for them, like went above and beyond because the interns did so much. So this is their entire journey of winning a bet. If I look back, it's no big deal for a company, but the amount of energy and positivity we had over the team was so high. And then the next year, people shared a agreement with me saying, hey, here are the terms and conditions of our bet. And I literally had to sign this. And this one I had to cook. And I had to actually cook for the interns. And again, I lost the bet. So this is a minute video after losing the bet, what I was asked to go through. Trust me, I'm not a great cook. All I made was ready-made stuff, but which somehow worked with the terms of the contract I signed up for. But again, when we got in the whole interns and when we had to cook and I had to get ready for the whole setup in itself, it's certainly changed the environment, changed the way the people after that started taking up these bets a little bit more seriously. The second experiment, this works. I mean, the previous one works well for, let's say, interns. This is how I manage most of the direct reportees who are reporting to me across various levels. And this is called individual development planning, or what we call IDP internally. And this process came as I started disliking weekly one-on-ones, and especially when the one-on-ones get super tactical and operational. It's hard to talk about someone's growth and development, and you feel like you're going to talk about this once a month, once in at least 2 months and whatnot, but never really happens. And so one fine day, I killed the entire weekly one-on-one and said, all I'm going to do is only the IDPs, and I'm going to walk through the process of how that works within HackerRank. And this is the second part of the story. So what is an IDP? It just creates a framework for a dialogue between my direct reportees and myself, just on their growth and their development. We sort of set aside what the company needs from them, and all we focus on is pretty much, what does their growth look like? What do they expect from the company? And how can we help them in their growth? And it focuses predominantly on the development areas they are interested in, and sometimes doesn't even have to be work as well, as you'll see in the future slides. It does improve their performance in the current role, but it doesn't look like a performance improvement plan. Like it's not something like, you're not doing this right, I want you to improve types. It's on how they can be a better version of themselves. And it gives me an opportunity to give continuous feedback and evaluation on the things they like to do, like on the things which they believe is their development and improvement plan. So the way the process works is we kickstart the IDP process, where the first meeting is asking them what their career aspirations are. Like sometimes they are not sure of what that is. And usually it's exploring or preparing for a new role. And there's a bunch of questions I ask them here to understand what do they expect from HackerRank, which is, what are the things they want to learn? When have they been most happiest in the role? And when have they been most unhappiest in the role in the recent past? And what do they feel like their strengths are? And what do they feel like the areas of development are? And more probing questions along this give me an idea to form a structure of the person. And then after meeting one, we have a document template which I'll share soon. And we go ahead and review and update the draft plan. We come up with a plan on what are the things which make sense for this particular individual, like what are the agreed strengths, what are the areas of development, what are the development activities, and so on. So after the first meeting, there is some bit of work for the individual and some bit of work for the manager. And then starts the meeting two, which is almost like the kickstart meeting, where we go ahead and discuss different options or different development activities which an engineer can do. I'm going to show some of the IDP documents from my team, so you'll get a sense of how this goes through. So this is the development planning template we use. It's a standard Google Doc. If you drop me a note, I can share this with you. Nothing's too complex here. This is shared with me and the individual, and we constantly keep updating this. This is not a performance improvement plan. This is nothing to do for correction. This is purely on people's development path. So I'm going to walk through the sections of this doc one by one. So you have this development plan focus, and we have the 5 options there, and the individual is supposed to pick one of the other, like based on different levels in their career. They may end up picking, okay, I want to optimize my performance in the current role, or I'm an engineering, but I want to prepare for a new role which is outside engineering, or even within engineering, I'm a front-end developer. I do want to focus on DevOps or back-end development and so on. I want to progress within my current department, which is I want to move from SD1 to 2 to 3 and so on. Or I want to prepare for a leadership role, which is usually the right thing for a first-time manager. Or I want to proceed within the leadership role. So as you can see, this encompasses the entire team, even if they are at a junior level, just joined the organization, say at an SD1, or even a leadership person wanting to grow further into the leadership. And then we have this development plan objective statement. And this is something your direct reportee is supposed to write. And it's a 1 or 2 sentence summary about their development plan. It's a good forcing function for them to summarize everything they want to do in a single line. One advice here is encourage them not to stress over the step a lot. Like it's almost like you shouldn't really wordpick or nitpick things here a lot. It's rather make it their elevator pitch for what they are investing in. That's all we need there. And then this is again a discovery process between the manager and the colleague, where we both come up on a common agreed strengths and areas of focus of development. And the main piece here after this is the development actions and tracking. Like this is the activities which are added by my team directly. Like they are the ones who come up with these activities. So there is a whole lot of ownership from their side. I don't assign anything here. It could be something like, wanting to do new projects, or I want to be a CTO at some point and I want to shadow your job, or I want to try sales. Can I do some job rotation, training, mentoring, reading, teaching others? This, by the way, this list, if you have about 5 activities, try to have 2 activities on there, call it that personal growth, or if they improve on that, your company is not going to benefit a lot. Like you could soon see there are folks who want to learn driving and swimming and multiple other talent they wanted to get done at some point in time. And 3 out of 5 or 3 out of 4, even if you have just 4, would be on the technical side, where people may want to, take new initiatives, would want to go out and speak on different forums, would want to write a blog, and different new things you could try. Last final thoughts on this. It's a time-consuming process. Don't rush it. Some of this takes time. Like it gradually evolves into such a nice process over a period of time. And if you're hiring someone new, maybe wait for about 2 to 3 months before you start the development planning with them. A couple of other thoughts I could think of is, if you have these IDP sessions with them, and it is mentally taxing, so don't have more than 3 sessions in a week. So try to spread it out throughout the week so that you have enough time to process it and get back to them with right set of initiatives. And again, you don't meet them too frequently as well. So don't meet them one person more than one meeting per week. And if any of your direct reportees need a performance improvement plan, I would recommend not to start this process. That's more critical. So if their performance is not up to mark, you may want to do that first and then get to the individual development process. So now let's jump on to the real world examples, which I wanted to share. So this is one where you can think of, if you can read the screen, it talks about people wanting to do spin classes, wanting to do writing a long form content, writing a short story. This is from a product manager. So, the whole, I want to communicate better is one of the pure true things which comes out here. And it's okay if the communication happens either in a Jira board with your story, or in a short story contest. Both way, it improves their communication skills. And you can see we have 2 sets of things here. Like we have the active ones at the top, and anything which is considered as done, we move to the done section and strike top, so that it still stays there as their achievement, and they can look back to it. But the main ones which we are, for example, I'm processing with this person are just these 4, and these are the 4 I would discuss with this person next time when I connect with them. Same way, it doesn't have, for example, there is a whole lot of stuff about mentoring juniors and how can they help more people in achieving what they want. How do you put a structure around mentoring? Like, how do you ensure people come to you for mentoring help, pure growth in your role? And then the next one is on, I want to learn cooking, and the help needed from this, the constraint is people are going to be alive after I eat the food, or if needed, get insurance. Like, it's a little bit of a sarcastic tone, but you get the point. So there are multiple goals, where one is on my professional growth, and one doesn't have to be professional growth, but still something which I want to have it in this job. Same way, if you take it for a designer, and I have designers, product managers, engineers reporting to me. So designer would be like, okay, I want to do something in my Dribble. I want to read a lot. I want to read about design details. I want to read about how cost company works and whatnot. And there are a bunch of books I end up recommending, saying, why, if you can't read, why don't you go ahead with your own Audible? And then people always want to write a lot. Like, once a month, you want to write some small snippets and showcase your design talent, technical talent to the outside world. One more, again, as you can now see, there is some pattern to this. There is writing, reading, wanted to become a better person in typing speed. And apparently there is a competition we are going to have at some point in time, where we see who can type faster. Hopefully I win. And then there is learning French, and then achieving health goals. So I was doing this. I'm doing this with my team for about last couple of years after the team formed. And at some point, the team came to me saying, Hari, where is your IDP? Like, what happened to yours? I was like, I don't do my IDP with my manager, who's also my CEO and who's also my classmate, whom I know for about 20, 15 years or so. Um, and then that made them, it's like, you got to have an IDP. So it started with, okay, Hari will think about doing tech talks. And here I am giving the talk. So I think I can mark that as done. And then I have to read a physical book. I don't have the patience to sit and read a physical book. I prefer Audible. So that's one, apparently. And last one is I need to swim. The outcome is supposed to be swim across Atlantic Ocean, and the support needed is a life jacket. Gets a little crazy, but I at least, this keeps me accountable, and I need to make sure next time when the team meets me, I need to have made some progress in all of this. So, and what I've learned doing all these IDPs is people from whatever, all walks of life, like people from engineering, product, design, and different levels, they want to be a better version of themselves. Like, it comes in three major domains. One is marketing themselves better, like they want to do more blogs, more talks, tweets, podcasts, Instagram, whatever way they prefer. They want to showcase their talent in a better way. They want to maintain a good health, and I'm glad that I have this team within my team. I want to do a walking or running. People want to go to gym regularly. They want to do rock climbing. They want to sleep on time and trek and whatnot. The last interesting team I found was they want to understand more about finances. This is probably one thing which, engineers love numbers. So for sure, this is something which is close to their area, but it gets complex with dealing with different forms from the government and whatnot. So they have this thing, and like, I want to understand learn about taxes, how taxes work in general, and how to save more money, and where and how to get started with investment. I don't really, give them investment advices, but I know that this is one of the things, and I could say here, this is a place where you could go ahead and learn and understand all the risks. So, and the last part, like this is something we believe in HackerRank, and at core, they want to be the best versions of themselves, like, both personally and professionally. And that's what matters the most. Way back, I would have just done the professional part and cut down completely on the personal side. But now I think I'm a better manager. I understand what's the value between both. And as I look back, I think more than a manager, what has worked for me is being an accountability partner. There is this book called Atomic Habits. If you have not read it so far, I'd strongly recommend you to read it. And one chapter there talks about how having an accountability partner helps you achieve your goals much, much better than what you would have done on your own. And it talks about having a habit contract. And I did the contract with my interns without even knowing this term. And then when I read the book, I was like, oh, this is what I was doing, but I didn't know I was doing this. And having that habit contract with your accountability partner is so useful. And that someone is watching can be a powerful motivator. Like, we all want to look good in front of others. We want others to like us. We want others to admire us. So, some way or other, I see both the intern bets with my interns and IDPs with my entire engineering team has just made me their accountability partner more than their manager. And that has helped in their growth a lot. So somehow, if you get to this mental model, this helps in improving their growth rate to a much higher number. Now we have tons and tons of different sorts of bet going on in the company. We have people challenging each other to, the number of steps they are going to do in a week. And if you don't, walk that many steps, you got to solve a Rubik's Cube within this much time. Or you got to have an unscrambled Rubik's Cube on your table, or a scrambled Rubik's Cube. If you like the chaoticness, keeping a fully solved Rubik's Cube on your table is going to irritate you. So people don't want that. Whereas some folks, where they like the, predictability, or they like the unsolved ones, so you can do the opposite for them. There are some places where we have had even folks asking each other to have a sort of a bet, like writing a blog every month. And if you don't write, you have to give them like 10 rupees. It's nothing big deal here. People would just pay without thinking twice. But the difference is this: it has to be a 10 rupee note. And in the note, you have to write saying, I didn't write the blog for month of March 2023, and sign it and give. And that's where it hurts, not the money part. So we've done that. There are a bunch of folks who are doing that within the org. Overall, I think growth doesn't have to be like hard. And this is what I want to come back to, which I shared earlier. The whole process, you can constantly keep learning, and you can have fun as well. It doesn't have to be the manager there is a bunch of Dilbert comics we have read where managers are portrayed the evil picture, but it doesn't have to be the case. It can be super fun for the manager and the team as well. That's all the things I wanted to share today. Hope you have a great rest of the event, rest of the day. Thank you all. Thank you for having me here. Have a wonderful day.